Hello, and welcome to my review of New Japan Pro Wrestling's Battle in the Valley 2023 event that took place this past weekend. Apologies for the delay in getting the review out to you. I couldn't watch it live because I was watching Elimination Chamber. Apologies if that makes me a bad wrestling fan for choosing WWE over New Japan. And then just life has been getting in the way, and it took me a little while to watch the whole show. But I've done it now, minus the pre-show. I haven't actually managed to watch the pre-show yet. But I have the results here, so I can still compare my predictions to the pre-show, but I won't be talking about those matches because I haven't seen them. So I'll just quickly run through those really quickly. So Alex Coughlin, whichever, defeated JR Kratos in the opening pre-show match. I actually predicted JR Kratos to win because I liked his name more. So I am 0 for 1. Excellent. And then next, David Finlay defeated Bobby Fish, which I believe is what I predicted. So 1 out of 2 on the pre-show. Fun little tidbit, since I just got these results off Wikipedia. The first match was 10 minutes and 7 seconds. The second match was 10 minutes and 6 seconds. Kind of crazy that they almost managed to do the exact same length of match. Okay, now off Wikipedia and onto my own notes about the show. So the main show kicked off with an 8-man tag, which was DKC, Kevin Knight, Volador Jr., and Kushida taking on Adrian Quest, Mascara Dorada, the former Lindsay Dorado from WWE, I believe. Or was it Grand Metalik? I think it might have been Grand Metalik, actually. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it is actually Grand Metalik, even though the name's similar to Lindsay Dorado's. Rocky Romero and Josh Alexander. And I put in my notes I wasn't familiar with DKC, Kevin Knight, Volador Jr., or Adrian Quest in this one. So I was seeing like half of the participants in this match for the first time. So that was kind of fun. They all seemed, everyone in the match seemed decent, seemed to carry their own sort of amount of the weight and what have you, and contributed. Josh Alexander is defending the Impact World Championship against Kushida at Impact Multiverse United, so this was a way to build towards that. It was pretty standard 8-man tag, opening tag stuff, to be honest. There was a really cool moment where Kushida had Adrian Quest on his shoulders, and Kevin Knight did a standing drop kick up to Adrian Quest, and like it looked good as well. He's got spring, that Kevin Knight. Like, oh my god, such a cool moment. I didn't really make any more notes other than that. I just enjoyed the match. A lot of the story was between the building up the future Alexander Kushida collision. Kushida's team actually picked up the win when Kevin Knight pinned Adrian Quest with a pendulum DDT. And at the same time, Kushida had Josh Alexander locked in the hoverboard lock. So obviously creating that doubt, will Kushida be able to lock Alexander in that again in the singles match and pick up the win and the Impact title? That's what we're supposed to be thinking here, isn't it? I predicted Josh Alexander's team to win because he's the Impact World Champion. I didn't realize when I was making my predictions that Alexander and Kushida was an upcoming match, or I might have actually gone for Kushida's team, but hey ho, I didn't. So on the main show, 0 from 1, which makes me 1 from 3 overall. I'll try and keep up with what my overall score is, but in my notes I've got my my main show score. So if in doubt, I'll add it on at the end. It shouldn't be too difficult. Anyway, Volador Jr., who Rocky Romero won his championship from, I do believe, that he's currently carrying. I think it's like the welterweight title of CMLL or something. Volador challenged Rocky Romero to a match after the match was finished. Challenged completely in Spanish, which I know a fair portion of the population of San Jose will speak Spanish, and California in general, but seemed an odd way to build the match, in front of 2 audiences that won't understand what he's saying, the English-speaking and the Japanese-speaking audience watching. And apparently challenged Rocky Romero to a hair match. Now, why he didn't challenge him to a title match, I'm not sure. But maybe the implication was it was a title match with the extra stipulation of hair versus hair. I don't know. Anyway, next match was Kenta challenging Fred Rosser for the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship. This match was really good, really back and forth. early in the match, Fred Rosser wanted to fight Kenta outside the ring, which, you know, and there was a lot of sort of trying to prove himself in this one. There was a fun moment because CM Punk was actually in attendance for this show. It was quite well documented. And Kenta did the GTS taunt, and I put towards Punk and then in brackets, I assume, because it never showed Punk as being the recipient of the taunt, but there was a big ooh from the crowd, so I figure he was looking straight at Punk when he did that taunt, which was kind of fun. It came towards the end of the match. There was a ref bump that looked pretty awkward, if I'm perfectly honest. Wasn't that well executed. But then Rosser locks in a really cool STF and crossface chicken wing combo submission, and got Kenta to submit for what I call the visual tap. Usually I talk about visual pins, where someone pins someone for 3 while the referee's down. It doesn't count. It's always a bad sign. It's always a sign you're going to lose. And I was like, oh, really? So yeah, Kenta submitted, but there was no referee. Then Juice Robinson came out, interfered, and then Kenta hit the GTS, and got the win when the referee was back into the match. So I predicted Rosser to retain, so 0 from 2. But I'm happy to see Kenta win, pick up a championship. Like, absolutely, I love me some Kenta. So 0 from 2 on the main show, which means I'm 1 from 4 overall. So it's not going great, my predictions at the moment, but hopefully it picks up. Up next, the West Coast Wrecking Crew challenging the Motor City Machine Guns from the New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team Championships. I'm not familiar with West Coast Wrecking Crew at all going into the show, but they were very impressive. Early on in the match, they did like tandem delayed suplexes, and I think he was called Isaacs, I'm guessing. Did an entire lap of the ring with Chris Sabin up in a vertical suplex, which was pretty cool, while the other dude had Alex Shelley up in a suplex in the ring for a portion of that. They were really impressive generally, to be honest. They had some fun teamwork, like double team moves, and stuff like that. But in the end, Motor City Machine Guns did retain after, I think it was called a dirt bomb. Not familiar with that move. Did they used to have a different finisher back when I would have watched TNA and Impact a bit more regularly? Let me know in the comments, but I don't recognize the move or the name as their finisher, so maybe that's changed over the years. The West Coast Wrecking Crew were really good, actually. Made a really good impression on me, personally. I really enjoyed the match. But I do think the Machine Guns winning and retaining early in their reign was the correct decision. And the first one on the main show that I predicted correctly, so I went 1 from 3 or 2 from 5 if we're counting the pre-show. Up next, we had Eddie Kingston and Jay White in what was essentially a loser leaves New Japan match. There was a little bit more to the stipulation, but that was the long and short of it, was we weren't going to see one of these two again in New Japan after this match. There were a lot of chops in this match. It was a very stiff, very hard-hitting match. The sort you expect from Eddie Kingston and Jay White. Jay White was getting up to his shenanigans as well. And just a classic sort of New Japan strong style match where they're just beating the hell out of each other for a bit. Jay White managed to hit a low blow on Eddie Kingston. I think he'd like pushed Eddie into the ref, and the ref had turned away to protect himself or something. And while the referee looked away, Jay White hit the low blow, I think is how that paid off. And then he turned that into a Blade Runner, but Eddie Kingston rolled out of the ring. It was sort of half ring awareness, half momentum from the impact of the Blade Runner, I guess. And towards the end, so it was Eddie offered a fist bump to Jay White. This is like quite far into the match now. I'm skipping over most of it. Like I say, if you want play-by-play, if you want to experience the whole match, watch the show. Like, don't listen to me for the whole match. You know, like, that's just silly. But yeah, Eddie offered a fist bump. Jay White spat on his fist, which was interesting. Then Eddie hit 2 back fists, then a half and half suplex, then a back fist, and then I put spinning suplex thing, which I found out is called the Northern Lights Driver, which apparently only one person has ever kicked out of before when Eddie Kingston's hit them with it. And Jay White kicked out, so it was a great false finish. But then almost immediately after, Kingston hit another Northern Lights Driver and got the 3. So yeah, instantly I thought, what next for Jay White? It's interesting, isn't it? Because the obvious options are WWE and AEW. There's also Impact, I suppose, as a third option. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I predicted Kingston to win this one, so I went 2 from 4 on the main show, 3 from 6 Yeah, 3 from 6. So I'm 50-50 whether we include the pre-show or not at this point. After the match, Eddie Kingston was applauding Jay White as he left the ring up the ramp. He asked multiple times for his music to be cut, but I put New Japan Pro Wrestling say nah. I don't know if they just thought he was gesturing like that's it, he's done when he was cutting across his throat, but the motion he was making is the motion everyone makes for cut the music, like no, stop, kind of thing, cut kind of thing. But clearly they didn't get the memo. There was a big thank you Jay chant. Jay White got on a microphone and was about to cut a promo to say goodbye, I guess, when David Finlay came out from and attacked Jay White from behind with a shillelagh, which was clearly a heel turn because he cut a promo about being an outsider everywhere. He said in Ireland they say I'm American, in America they say I'm Irish, in Japan I'm a Gaijin, I'm not welcome anywhere, no one likes me, woe is me. Taking this into my own hands, essentially, was the gist of the promo. It wasn't a bad promo, but it wasn't great either, if I'm honest. But, it served a purpose, and we'll see what happens going forward with David Finlay as a heel. Up next was Homicide versus Tom Lawler in a filthy rules match, which basically just means there's no ring ropes and there's no disqualifications or rules in general, countouts, etc. This was a pretty wild brawl. There was weapons, there was, some fun, creative spots using the fact that there's no ropes and stuff. They set up a door, like just literally a door, leaning from under the ring, which a running gag on commentary was the commentators trying to justify why certain things were under the ring that they brought out and used as weapons. And when they got the door out, they were just like, yeah, there's no excuse for the door being there except Homicide wanted to use it as a weapon. Like, I just thought, fair enough, good commentary. It was a good little running theme throughout the match on commentary. So Homicide set up the door leaning against the barricade. And then after a little bit of teasing, I just put Death Valley Driver through the door. Who hit who with it? I can't remember now, I think Homicide hit Lawler with it, but I'm not 100% on that. But yeah, because there's no ropes, they just basically picked him up in the ring and ran over to the apron and just jumped off and did like a Death Valley Driver, like a leaping Death Valley Driver, and both men went through the door. It was a pretty fun spot. The finish came when Lawler locked in a rear naked choke and Homicide gave the double middle finger and then passed out. So defiantly refused to submit and just passed out instead. I predicted Lawler to win this one because it was his rule set, basically, and because Homicide's on a downswing of his career. Although you couldn't tell from this match, it was really fun, wild brawl, in my opinion. So that puts me 3 from 5 on the main show, or 4 from 7 overall. So again, just over 50%, whichever way you look at it. Next was Clark Connors challenging Zack Sabre Jr. for the IWGP Television Championship. So the story of this match that was being told both in the ring and on commentary was that ZSJ has the clock on his side because TV title matches are contested under 15-minute time limit rules. So Zack was constantly trying to sort of slow the match down and just run the clock down a little bit, and commentary were really selling this and how Clark Connors needed a sense of urgency. I put this as a fun match and that I love Zack Sabre Jr.'s style. I probably say this on every New Japan review I do where he's in action, but I just think his style is so unique compared with what pretty much anyone else is doing in the world of at least globally televised wrestling, of that sort of really technical, grind them down submission style. There's no one else I can think of that does that exact style at the moment. Maybe you can let me know in the comments if I'm missing someone, but it's fairly unique, let's be honest. The end sequence was really fun because we somehow transitioned through like a couple of different holds from Clark Connors having Zack Sabre Jr. in an ankle lock to sort of like Zack Sabre leaping into a Fujiwara armbar, and as soon as he locked it in, Clark Connors immediately submitted. It looked really brutal. The immediacy and urgency of the tap out really sold it really well, and to be honest, it looked like a really good armbar. Yeah, it was just a great finish. I really enjoyed that. And Zack Sabre Jr. retains, which is what I predicted. So I went 4 from 6 on the main show, 5 from 8 overall. And then as Zack Sabre Jr. was walking back up the ramp, Kevin Knight comes out and he did a good job in the opening match because I immediately was like, yes, I want to see that. And I've never seen Kevin Knight before this show. So if you're a regular New Japan Strong viewer and you know Kevin Knight, I can only imagine how excited you are about Kevin Knight versus Zack Sabre Jr. For the TV title at some point in the near future. Zack Sabre Jr., teased it, asked the morons what they think, i.e. the crowd, and then said, oh, I'll think about it or something, and then walked away. But they're not going to have someone challenge someone for a title and then not do the match. There's just no point. So that'll be fun when that comes around. Up next was the first of the supposed double main event matches. To me, there's only one main event. It's the one that went on last. And, well, we'll talk about this later, but in my opinion, it should have been this one. It's Mercedes Moné challenging Kairi for the IWGP Women's Championship. This match was really fun. Mercedes Moné had like a full dance troupe for her entrance, and honestly, it went on a little bit long, if I'm being real, but it made it seem like a big deal, do the special entrance. It's not like a WrestleMania budget style special entrance, but it was just something a little bit unique for her, so that was fun. I don't know if that'll be like part of her regular entrance or if it was just to make a big deal of her first match. Time will tell, I guess. This was a really fun, hard-hitting match. One of the main story threads running through this match was Moné. Well, two really. One was Moné trying to stop Kairi hitting the elbow. She did things like grabbing a leg to stop her climbing the top rope. I can't remember other examples, but she was desperate to stop Kairi even attempting the insane elbow. But another one was like she was coming up with some creative, if questionably legal, counters to things. Like at one point, Kairi had that like cloverleaf she does where she leans right back. It looks really good. Locked in, and Banks just grabbed her hair that was hanging down and pulled her into a backslide, which just a really creative, again, technically illegal to pull the hair, but a very creative reversal. Did I say Banks then? My mistake. Moné hit, like, it's a very creative reversal though, and there was a lot of that. It was like right on the cusp of, is it legal, is it not in a wrestling match? But it's clever, it's smart. She's being portrayed as a very smart wrestler, it seems, because she knew what saying. She's not called Sane, is she? She's just called Kairi. She knew what Kairi's main weapon is, the insane elbow, and did everything she could to prevent her from hitting that. And when she was in a spot of bother, she kept finding clever ways out of it. So it was quite a good story being told. Kairi hit the referee with a cutlass back fist because I think Moné ducked it or dodged out the way or pulled the ref in the way. It was Moné's fault the referee got hit. I think she actually pulled the referee in the way, if I remember correctly. And then then they ended up fighting outside the ring, and Kairi powerbombed Moné through a table, which was fun. Then Kairi goes up to the top rope and actually attempts the insane elbow, but Moné put her feet up, like legs straight, because normally when you catch a move, you put your knees up off the top rope. But she put her feet up straight and it went into like the tricep of Kairi as she's coming down trying to drop the elbow with her arm out. Really good counter. Looked like it really hurt. Hopefully it didn't, but but it looked really good. And then Moné won with her new finisher, the Money Maker, which looked good when she hit it correctly. At Wrestle Kingdom, she or Kairi or both kind of botched it and it looked pretty lame, but I quite like that new finisher. And I went back and forth on this match, and I did in fact predict Moné to win in the end, I'm pretty sure. So that puts me 5 from 7 or 6 from 9, depending on how we're counting it. Either way, I'm doing pretty well now, considering what was a 1 from 4, like at one point, so not bad. After the match, they shook hands and then had a hug, and then Kairi strapped the belt on Moné in like, the sign of respect. Which, I don't know, I felt like Moné was being a really effective heel throughout the match, and then they handshake and hug and celebrate together, and I don't know, was Moné supposed to be a face? Because she seemed like a heel. But anyway, we'll find out, I guess. And the second part of the dual main event, which went on last, so in my opinion, is the main event of the show. Hiroshi Tanahashi challenging Kazuchika, I can never say his name, Kazuchika Okada, for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. And the story in this one was Okada underestimating Tana, treating him. I think even said on commentary that it was a bit like an old Yeller situation where he was like, I'm gonna have to put this dog down. I love this dog, but I'm gonna have to put him down. It was like looking at Tana like that because Tana's a little bit past his prime and whatnot. It was fine. This match was fine. I did know Okada just doesn't capture my imagination. I understand how good of a wrestler he is, but I'm never enthralled with his matches. I don't know what it is. I don't know if anyone feels the same and maybe can put it into words in the comments, but I just don't love Okada matches like I love other New Japan guy matches and other guys from other promotions, but it's a fair comparison if you compare him to other New Japan guys, and I just wasn't that into it. And then I realized neither does Tanahashi really, but I missed the peak of Tanahashi, so maybe that's why. But just neither's anywhere near being one of my favorites. It was a decent 20-odd minute match, but the women should definitely have main evented. I put in my notes here. That was just a better match, and it went longer, or at least it seemed like it went longer, but not in a bad way. It just seemed like there was a lot more in it. Okada wins with the Rainmaker, obviously, is what my notes say. 6 from 8. Obviously, I predicted Okada to win that one. So that's 6 from 8, 7 from 10 overall, including the pre-show. So, not bad. Not a bad attempt at predicting a New Japan Strong show where I've never watched Strong. So, I mean, obviously, some of them are main roster, if you like, Japanese New Japan. But, still, then Okada cut a closing promo. I was surprised at the fluidity of his English. It was quite quick. Like, it wasn't perfect, but you wouldn't expect that. But it was really good English, and it was really fluent. There wasn't a lot of pausing. He then asked Tanahashi to team up so they could chase the tag titles after showing him disrespect in the build to and throughout the match of, taking him for granted, taking him lightly. Now he wants to go for the tag titles with Tanahashi. I don't know. Okada's a weird character. He was basically the heel throughout this match, and then he just cuts a face promo at the end. Strange. Then he's interrupted by Mercedes Moné, who says she wants to team with Okada. So, have New Japan got plans for a mixed tag show, tournament, just a one-off match, belts? Who knows? Let me know in the comments what you make of that end of the show, and what you made of the show overall. Overall, I enjoyed the show. I think the highlights for me were the women's match, the Zack Sabre match, and the Filthy Rules match. Oh, no. You know what? And Jay White, Eddie Kingston. Basically, in fact, pretty much the whole match, the whole show, outperformed the main event, in my personal opinion. Near enough the entire show, if not the entire show. Let me know what you think of that in the comments. Probably an unpopular opinion. Leave a like if you enjoyed this review, whether you agree with my final opinion or not there. I'd still appreciate a like. And subscribe if you're new here for more wrestling content. But for now, all I have left to say is thank you very much for watching. As always, I've been EBEZA, you've been amazing, and I'll see you next time.